Welcome back to HowToAV.tv. We're over at ISE 2020 on the CEDIA stand. Just been joined by John Penney, who's helping out CEDIA with some of the training talks over at the show. John, you have such an insight into digital content and what the future is going to look like. Explain to our audience on your background and why you're the expert we should listen to, first of all.
Chris, thank you very much for having me today. I'm John Penney, and I've worked in the media and entertainment industry as a lead strategist and a business to development executive for the last 20 years with companies like 20th Century Fox, HBO, Starz, and Viacom, as they all rolled out digital platforms. So I have a depth of experience that I hope will be helpful to the audience in understanding the massive transformation going on in content, the way content gets to you, and that in-home environment that's increasingly confusing to so many, but is yet so much more powerful than the historical types of content delivery we've had.
The market is changing, the way that we're digesting content, where that content's coming from, it virtually changes on a daily basis. Where are we right now, and where do we think that's developing over the next couple of years?
That's a great question. I think it's fascinating because where we stand today is at a transition point from traditional distribution through cable, satellite, and maybe your telephone company to what I like to think of as multimodal distribution, which includes all of those things, but far more emphasis on personalized environments, getting content to the consumer on the main screen, the large screen TV in the home that is driven by personalization systems. But now, increasingly, as you watch families watch television, whether it's news, sport, or entertainment, multiple screens are being placed in front of almost every individual in the room, and there's a second level of content personalization. So companies are seeing the opportunity to deliver directly to the consumer through subscription video on demand. That would be your Netflix, Amazon, Hulu. iPlayer is not subscription, but it's free. That type of service, SVOD we like to call it, and now increasingly AVOD, which is advertising supported. So from a very homogeneous environment, the way I like to think of it, cable, satellite, and telco in the last decades, to a very heterogeneous environment, multiple screens, multiple streams, and personalization for the family and the extended family in and out of the home, Chris.
So let's paint a picture. I love the idea, that romantic idea that the families all sat around the TV together in the den or in the living room, John. Does that still exist? Is there still a market for that one main TV? Is everybody in a different room? Is everybody on a different device together?
I think it's interesting because we're starting to change the way we look at our activities as groups and as family units. It's almost as if being together doesn't mean focusing on the same thing at the same time. It means being co-located together. So you see, and I've heard people say this, that even with the most demanding in terms of attention-based television, sport would be an example, that whether it's a father and a daughter, a family sitting together, in the old days everybody was focused on that TV. Today, since we all have our mobile devices, tablets, what may it be, right in front of you, it's a two-way communications device. You're also communicating while watching a single program with a wide audience of your friends through social means or directly. And I think that really is a reinterpretation of what it means to be together. Please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing socially or not. It's the observable behavior that you can actually see. And we may find that there will be moments in time, like in the holidays or the like, where people just actually decide in the future, let's focus together, like a board game would be, playing a game.
So I guess one of the simplest examples of that multimodal is if we look at some of the TV shows, and even in TV advertising at the moment, we're going to see that hashtag appear that's wanting us to interact. We know that on TV, while we're watching TV, everybody's got the mobile in their hand. Let's use that and let's create an environment, let's create a discussion so that we're all interlinked, even family to family, house to house, country to country. Am I right? Is
yes.
that the start of it?
I think you're seeing two types of experience. One is where our conversation around the programming generates a network effect, as one would call it, in individuals and groups discussing whatever the show that they're watching. Think about non-scripted reality programming where there's a competition element being a perfect place for that to happen. And so yes, I think how you described it with a hashtag or some sort of feed at the bottom is, for certain types of programming, non-scripted sports and news, the right model and the right way for advertisers, whatever you think of advertising, thinking about engaging more with the consumer. On the other side is very engaging scripted content, storytelling. You don't want people pulling away from the story arc, because if you did that, then they're not attending to the incredible detail and costly build of that programming. You actually want them to interact between times. So what we're going to see, I think, over time is a calibration of the what, the where, and increasingly the when of the communications around all of the content forms that are coming to us. Long form, short form, non-scripted would be reality programming, and scripted.
And when you talk about the when, I've resisted the urge to binge watch. I'm still not there, and I'm still of an era where I'm going to wait until the next episode comes out a week later. Imagine that, John. Is there a future for that? And how is that going to get people to interact if they're all binge watching in their time when they like?
It's interesting because I think there's two sides to the coin that you described. One, the first side is the person who likes to spread, I'll call it the pleasure of the storytelling out over time, and that could be done through a broadcaster or a network providing you the content across time, week by week, an episode. There's another way to think of that too, which is you might decide with a group of friends, like a book club, that you're going to watch a show that's pre-existing on a time basis on an on-demand platform, whether it be Netflix, whether it be a catch-up service or the like, and you might have a social interaction around it.
So in a show like this, it's all about the hardware, John. There's some incredible hardware, of course. You, however, a content creator. Now, who's driving who? Is it all of this incredible technology that moves forward that's driving your content? Or do you think it's your content and the way that we're consuming that's driving what technology we're going to be putting into the home?
I think we're in a new era, and historically, content has come to new platforms late. So you remember when we had the move from standard definition to HD, there wasn't a lot of content. Then we moved from HD to 4K. Similar situation that we're in, and 8K will be in the future. And even interactive 3D and the like. I think what's happening now is there's more of an interrelationship between hardware and software, content being the software, and that interrelationship is coming from the new things that you can do with platforms to make content viewing that much more impactful. So Chris, we talked about binge viewing. That's a hardware-based, network-based reality that requires some sort of box or a connected player, connected TV in the home. It also creates a new dynamic of how a content creator might think about a story arc if someone's watching very quickly, episode to episode, versus on a longer term basis where it might be spread out over more time. So what's really going on in my mind at a show like ISE and other hardware shows, and what you see with the Apples of the world, Samsungs and the like, is the ability of the platform, the device, to help the consumer find the content they're looking for faster and more efficiently than ever before, and provide a content context around the actual programming. Who's in it? How is it made? Interviews behind the scenes. And all of that is hardware now and software working together to bring a more impactful entertainment experience. If you ask me which is actually moving faster or slower, I would say hardware is moving faster because it's at the cadence of technology. Storytelling is at the cadence of human evolution. So I think we're going to see them both come together. Traditionally, people have watched content in 30-minute, 1 hour, and 90-minute segments. I just did a TV show that was short, a medium TV show, and a movie. Based on the changing behaviors of being able to watch content wherever you are and whenever you want to, there is a tremendous amount of what we'll call today between time, where people are tapping into the power of the networks that we have around us, mobile, wireless, whether it's Wi-Fi or wide area, to take some of the content that they would have traditionally watched and watch it, or explore, like many people do on YouTube, very short form content. What's not been created yet is a new category of content that I've been focused on, and a company that I'm starting called Elemental Content is working on, which is professionally produced content in the 1 to 3 minute segment that is a show that builds up not just 1 to 3 minutes at a time, but episodes of 1 to 3 minutes. That could be animation, scripted dramas, thrillers, action. It could be non-scripted, travel. It could be, business focused, like behind the scenes at ISE. And it's a very interesting new form that creators have to get their heads around, because many of them have grown up only in the world of 30, 60, 90, and it's much, much harder. And you guys are experts at this, at what you do when you're working online, to really tell a compelling story, almost as if you were a newspaper writer. If you don't get that lead right up front and hook somebody, it's not going to actually, you won't get someone to read the article. Same thing, if you're looking at narrative and structure, scripted or non-scripted, we're going to create a new form of content societally. I don't just mean the companies I'm working with, overall, that is between long and very short form, and is about really those in-between moments when your mind needs a break from the world around it to sort of recalibrate and reset with some good storytelling or information that is, eye-opening and thought-provoking. Short doesn't mean compromise, it means engaging at the moment that you want to engage. So let's think about that together and invent that future together as technologists, storytellers, and everybody in between, marketers and the like.
John, thank you so much for joining us at HowToAV.tv. Join us again soon for all the latest in AV technology.
A real pleasure, Chris. Thank you so much.